everyone, welcome to History on Trial. This is Dr. Tracy McCarthy. We're going to be talking about the black slave ships. Now, it's important to note that sometimes black just means black. And so those who might be thinking that based upon some etymology issues that black means something other than black, in this particular instance, it appears very clearly that black means black. We're going to be looking at the years that these particular slave ships sailed. There is no suggestion in these histories of there being what you would consider white cargo versus black cargo. And what is noted is that there is a correlation between the Jacobite deportations and the dates of these slave ships. Not all of them, but the overwhelming majority. Okay, so we're getting started here. We see at the top of the list we have Blackamoor and Blackmore in terms of the names of the ships. Now, what's important to note is that these ships are coming out of Bristol, so that's a big red flag and a big giveaway that these ships and the people on the ships are related to the Jacobite revolutions. And so you see the place of purchase being Ardra up at the top, and you see principal place of slave landing, Barbados. Then you see Calabar and Jamaica. And so you see this West African dynamic going on in terms of the start, in terms of principal place of purchase, and then you see the Caribbean, and then you see Virginia over on the right-hand side in terms of place of landing. And so you also see down below the Black Prince. We're going to talk a little bit about that. But what's noteworthy is the timing of the ships. And so you see the year arrived with enslaved individuals, the 1600s and 1700s, and the 1700s, those dates pretty much correspond with the Jacobite revolutions and the deportations of those individuals. And then coming out of Bristol, it definitely suggests that in terms of who was on the ship. Now remember, there was a dynamic going on where some of the slave ships had the same names as the deportation ships. And so what it looks like might have been going on, if this itinerary is correct, is that individuals were taken from Europe, transported to Africa. Some of them left in Africa, and then some of them made their way to the Americas on these same ships. What's interesting, though, is when the ships are in one port, they might be referred to as a deportation ship. But when the ship is coming from Africa, it could be the same ship, same name, same captain, same owner. The ship suddenly changes to a slave ship. Now, of course, some people might indicate that even if that was the case, that the individuals on these slave ships were not quote unquote black people or brown people, but there is no indication that individuals who would be identified stereotypically as white, that those people were being sent in mass numbers to plantations. And here we have a lengthy list here, and this one includes significantly more ships with the name Black Prince. You also see the Blackamoor up top, and what's interesting is you also see a listing for a ship titled Black Boy. Now what's interesting about this is that's Prince Charles's name. And so you also see these ships coming out of Bristol, London, a little bit more diversity here because you also have ships coming out of Chester and Antigua and St. Kitts, London, Whitehaven. You have the principal place of purchase in a number of places on the west coast of Africa. And then in terms of principal place of slave landing, there are a couple of unusual notations. One is a landing in Pensacola, and then the other is a landing in St. Augustine. Consistent with the Jacobite Revolution, you have the dates pretty much revolving around that time frame and subsequent to the defeat. And so you see these dates corresponding very closely with the revolution dates and the deportation dates. Now, some are arguing that individuals were never enslaved, that the individuals who were enslaved were not black but white. There is no suggestion of those dynamics going on with respect to these particular slave ships. Now, what's also noteworthy is that the slave ships were sending people to the plantations, and there is no record of large numbers of people who would be identified as white being sent to the plantations. This also includes those Jacobite slave ships, those deportation ships. What's noteworthy is that they were sent to the plantations in the Americas. Again, those who were primarily working on plantations were not individuals who would be classified as white. Now, some individuals might debate this, and if you actually have proof of that, please provide that. I have done extensive research and I cannot find anything to support this flipped history with respect to that and the 1700s and the 1600s. But again, if you have the research, the actual research that can be reviewed, please provide that and we will look at that and go over it. They were really heavy with this Black Prince ship dynamic here. Now you can see that you have similar captains when you look on the right hand side, and so some of these listings are the same ship but just with different itineraries. And so you can see that the slave voyages were beginning significantly in Rhode Island and then in London, and you see the principal place of slave purchase, a number of places along the coast of Africa there, and then coming into Barbados, Dominica, Charleston, York River, Kingston, St. Kitts. And so there's a little bit of variety there in terms of where people were being transported to. Again, these dates correspond with rebel ship transport. Seems to be a little obsession with the Black Prince here. And so you see another listing of ships with the name the Black Prince. Now, of course, because of the timing of this, the likelihood that this is a tribute is slim to none. And the likelihood that the ships were owned by the Black Prince, again, slim to none. And so what you pretty much have left is the likelihood that the individuals on the ships were somehow representative of the Black Prince. And so you have the voyages beginning in London, for the most part here, coming out of a number of places on the west coast of Africa in terms of principal place of purchase. And then slave landing, you have a number of places from St. Kitts to Maryland to Charleston to Martinique. There were some ships that were built in Ireland, and it is noted that many of them contained the name Black Joke. Now, what's odd about this is the Black Joke is not about a joke, but it is a derogatory name in terms of the slang of that time. And so it's a very odd slave ship name. But anyway, these ships were coming out of London and Liverpool and primarily going into the Gambia. And then principal place of slave landing, Martinique, St. Kitts, Dominica, Charleston, Barbados. Again, you will notice that the timing of the ships is related to the Jacobite Revolution. With so many ships named the Black Prince, many might be wondering who exactly was the Black Prince. And so according to the National Galleries of Scotland, the person on the screen is who they have provided as the Black Prince. And he was also known as the Prince of Wales. Remember, knowledge is power. Take care. See you soon.